Welcome to episode 5 of my tutorial series. This episode is about the technology screen. The technology screen is split into several parts. We have the leadership sliders, all technologies in a bunch of tabs, a list of all active research, and in the bottom we have the status of practical and theory knowledge, which changes to more information about a technology if we select one. Let's start with leadership. Each country has a certain amount of leadership points that you can distribute among these 4 fields. Leadership is gained from provinces you control in small quantities, so as a rule of thumb, the bigger a country is, the more leadership you will have available. This base value of your leadership can also be increased slightly with certain laws and minister traits, which we will see in the politics tutorial. There is also a research project that increases it a bit. Spending leadership on research allows you to research one project per point of leadership. If we spend 10 points, we can research 10 things at once. With 0.5 points, we can research one project, but it will progress at half its normal speed. With 1.5 points, one project will progress at full speed, while the second one will progress at half speed. Spending leadership on espionage will generate spies. To see how many spies are created for your leadership, check the tooltip that appears when you hover over the slider. If we generate 0.1 spies every day, then we will get a new spy every 10 days. How many spies you need depends on how actively you want to use them, and how quickly they are getting themselves caught. The details on this will be in the intelligence tutorial. Diplomacy generates diplomatic influence points. These points are required to use some diplomatic actions. For example, asking for a non-aggression pact requires 5 influence points, while influencing a nation uses 1 diplomatic influence per day for as long as you are influencing them. Officers generates officers. As I mentioned in the interface overview, you have your officer ratio up at the top. 140% is the number you want, and also the maximum amount. If you ever have less than 140%, you should try to spend some leadership on officers, so that it increases until you are back at 140%. Note that you need officers for every unit you have, so building more units means you need more officers for them as well. So overall, research is what you'll want to spend most of your leadership on. So if you have, say, 10 leadership, you could spend 6 or 7 on research and spread the rest out depending on where it's needed. So with that out of the way, let's check out research. As you can see, there is a lot of potential research projects and it can look a bit overwhelming at first, so let's break it down. Each of these buttons represents a research project. You'll notice there are several types of projects as indicated by these colors. Brown projects are one-time projects. That means that after researching them, they are complete and that's it. These projects usually unlock a new unit type like mountain infantry or some new technology like night fighting equipment. Once one of these projects has been completed, there will be a check mark on it, and you never have to deal with it again. Green projects are never fully completed, and you can keep researching them over and over to improve them. Each time you finish them, their level will increase by 1. Note the number in the project name. Militia Small Arms 2 means that once this project is completed, we will be at level 2 of this technology. So that means we are currently at level 1. The number shown always indicates the next level and not the level you are currently at. This is important for our next type of project. Gray projects are unavailable for certain reasons. Usually they require some specific prior research to become available. Let's take a look at tanks, for example, by switching to the armor tab. All tank types other than light tank brigade and its technologies are unavailable. Hovering over the gray medium tank brigade shows us the usual list of requirements. So we need light tank gun, engine, armor and reliability research at least at level 2. And as I just mentioned before, even though the numbers up here at these technologies say 2, that just means that we're at level 1 right now. So researching all 4 of these technologies once will enable the Medium Tank Brigade project, which is of course a brown one-time project that once finished will allow us to build medium tank brigades. It will also unlock the 4 repeatable medium tank projects, which in turn you need to get to level 2 to unlock heavy tanks, and so on. Let's now take a closer look at a single research project. There are several things to this. First, we have a year on each project we have not completed. This stands for when this technology has been researched historically, and researching it ahead of time will slow it down. For example, researching the 1944 tech night fighting equipment now in 1936 takes about 4 years, while researching it in 1944 takes just about 5 months. We also have this number ranging from 0 to 10, which indicates the difficulty of the project. Higher numbers are slower to research. Then there's the theory and practical knowledge. It works mostly like with production, so higher knowledge decreases research time. The big difference here is that instead of just one knowledge type, research can be impacted by multiple knowledge types, both theory and practical. As we know, practical knowledge increases by producing a unit of the corresponding type. These are shown in blue. Theory knowledge increases from research, and they are shown in teal. The knowledge icon next to the arrow shows you what type of knowledge you will gain from researching this project. Each project increases its knowledge type by 1 upon completion. So for infantry small arms here, 3 knowledge types influence the research speed. Infantry theory impacts this research with 30%, infantry practical with 60%, and grand battle doctrine with 10%, for a total of 100%. Our infantry theory would improve the research speed by 22.5% as it says here, but it only impacts the project at 30%, so only 30% of the 22.5% improvement get applied. So actually it only improves the research speed on this project by 6.75%. Likewise, our lack of knowledge in grand battle doctrine would cost us 50% research speed, but only 10% get applied, so we only lose 5%, which is not so bad at all. Other than that, we just have a description of the technology and its effects on the right. The effects can also be seen by hovering over a technology. In this case, all this just means that the tech improves soft attack for several different infantry unit types, like Marines, paratroopers, and motorized infantry. You can also check how long the project is going to take by hovering over the research button. So that should cover all of how this works. Now I just want to give some general advice in regards to research. While the units you research and improve change depending on what country you play and what you want to focus on, the Industry tab has some excellent projects that you want to get whenever possible. Things like leadership and IC increases, IC efficiency, which makes your IC do more work for the same resources, and improvement techs for resource production. Also keep in mind that for repeatable projects, the effect shown is the effect of the next level combined with all previous ones. So if Education 1 increases leadership by 5%, and Education 2 increases it by 10%, then once level 2 is researched, we'll have a 10% leadership increase total, not 15%. Another thing to be mindful of is that when you research a repeatable project, once it's finished, the next level will be added to the bottom of the research queue. Sometimes this is what you want, but every time you research a project like that, the next level will have a later historical research date, so if you research them in quick succession, it will get slower and slower. You might want to cancel them before they get too far ahead and restart it later. Whenever a project is way ahead of its time, you'll get a warning about inefficient research. Another thing I want to mention is that you can research theory knowledge directly in the Theory tab. This is usually not advisable, as you also gain theory by just researching normal projects. There are 3 very good supply and repair projects here though, that you definitely want to keep an eye on. Note that they use and grant you land combat experience. This is also used for land doctrines, which you can think of as tactics. You gain land combat experience simply by fighting battles. As you fight battles and gain land combat experience, The supply and repair projects as well as land doctrines will get easier to research, so you might want to hold off on them until you've been at war for a bit and gained some experience. There is of course also naval combat experience and air combat experience, influencing their own projects. Alright, that should do it. Thank you very much for watching and see you on the next episode.